Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studio inside Max 6 Workspace and the Conscious Capitalism Arizona headquarters in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm Karen Nowicki, your host today, and I'm very excited to meet Bridgett McGowen, awarded international professional speaker and presentation skills coach with BMcTALKS LLC. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Karen. So excited.
I am thrilled. And we laughed when we met just a few minutes ago for the first time. We know that we have this greater circle. I think we gave a shout out to Jody Towns. We know, at least know we are connected through Jody at one point. But I have a sense that we're going to really begin to see, oh my goodness, we do have a lot of people in common. We also discovered that we'll both be speaking for Phoenix Startup Week next week, which is a fantastic opportunity to come out and not only hear Bridgett and myself, but oh my gosh, I think that Mike, one of the co-leaders, told me there's over 150 speakers over the course of 6 days. And you're speaking on Friday morning.
Yes.
Out at Park University in Gilbert. And tell us just a little bit about that talk, that conversation.
The title of the presentation is Pitch Perfect. And I am going to focus, yes, exactly.
How perfect for you.
Exactly how do you make presentations that resonate? Because if you're a business owner, if you're a business professional, you know you get not too many chances to pitch your business and pitch your idea in a way that is going to stick. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Yeah.
I love it. And I in the morning at 10:30?
It's 11:30. 11:30 to 12:20 out at Park University, Friday, March 8th. It's going to be hot.
Excellent. And then I'll be following up with that at 1:30. Similarly, I would imagine, around the art of the connected conversation. And it's really how do we get out of our own way to have a connected conversation with people without bringing our agenda and just blahing all over people.
Now, you know, Karen, you probably already realize this as a professional. You already know you have a tough slot. That's post-lunch.
Yes.
And a Friday. I'll just stop there. But something tells me you've got this.
Well, I'm doing what I can on my end to prime the pump to make sure people know that we'll be there. And you know, either way, it's whoever is meant to be there will be there. But yes, I definitely feel the pains of that after lunch. Oh, womp, womp, womp.
Right. And just Friday in itself,
yes.
we're both going to send each other good vibes.
All right. We'll do that. And I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes for you. And hopefully actually, I was going to say, I would love to come watch you in action, but we're also doing a live broadcast. So I will be tied up doing that, but I definitely will get to see each other. All right. So let's back up. Let's let our listeners know who are you and the community that you serve and the great work that you bring to everyone.
I am, as you indicated, an awarded international professional speaker, and I'm also a presentation skills coach. So what that means is when I'm not on a stage doing workshops, doing conference sessions, presenting keynotes, things of that nature, I am working one-on-one with professional women on how to be the most engaging, dynamic, incredible communicators ever. That's what I do.
What does that entail? Is that partly visual appearance in addition to being able to articulate your message? I mean, can you give us a little idea of what that feels like from the perspective of your clients and the great women you get to work with?
Yes. There are 4 pillars I like to operate off of, and it's what you say it, how you sound, how you look. So it's all of that.
And it has to be all that, doesn't it?
It must be all of that. Now, I'm not creating cookie cutter women, if you will.
Thank you.
No, not everybody needs to have on a suit, and not everybody needs to have on a dress, and not everybody needs to have their hair a certain way. Absolutely not. What I do is I find out exactly what you do incredibly well, and then we amplify it. We put a couple of practices in place and a couple of techniques in place so you are able to always show up as the very best version of yourself.
That's so refreshing. There are a lot of different folks who are calling themselves speaker coaches, presentation coaches. And this is not about bashing any of them because I'm sure everybody brings a certain skill set to the conversation. But for someone like myself who's been speaking for a really long time and have found people like you to help me hone my craft, and I know there's always room for more, I'm very aware of that, I sometimes am puzzled and concerned a little bit with what people are putting out there because they are making it so cookie cutter, to use your language, making it so dialed down. And there's much more of a craft and finesse behind really standing in your power and presenting to the world who you are so that you're attracting the right people.
When it comes to that cookie cutter piece to it, absolutely, there are some foundational tenets that just do not change, regardless of who's the coach, who's the client. Absolutely. But what is incredibly important when you are looking for a coach, you need someone who is going to listen to you and wants to know what is your message, not tell you what message you should have, but what is your message? Where are your strengths? What is it that you want to get across to people? You need someone who's going to listen to you more than someone who talks and tells you what to do. But I need to hear you, and then I'll tell you exactly what's working and what's not.
Excellent. Yeah, hitting all the high notes for me. It makes complete sense. How did you get your start? I mean, tell us a little bit about your background and why this platform for you. Why does it make your heart hum?
It started in elementary school, Karen.
Really?
You're going to laugh. Every single report card, period. And I'm old school. We had paper report cards.
Yes.
I don't know what children get now, but we had real hard report cards. And on the back of the report card in the
comment
teacher
section,
yes, talks too much. Every single grade. You too?
Oh my goodness. And my 11-year-old right now. Yes.
And were you like me? And I'll go back to answering your question. Did you feel the same way I felt, where I didn't understand why that was a problem?
Yes.
I'm just being social. I'm just bringing some personality.
And for me, it was, and I'm helping the teacher, right? And I really meant it from my heart, which is why I've become an educator down the road. But yes, I love it.
And I became an educator down the road as well. Yes, I first started teaching, and I guess this goes back to answering your initial question. I started teaching for a community college system in the Houston area. It was called the North Harris Montgomery Community College District. It's now called Lone Star College System. I don't know why they changed the name. I mean, North Harris Montgomery Community College System just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Right. So I started there. I was an adjunct, and then I returned to my alma mater, Prairie View A&M University, which is part of the Texas A&M University system. And I started teaching there and started doing a lot of administrative types of things. I also started doing a lot of faculty development. And this entailed me going off to conferences, and I'm seeing other people present, and I'm thinking, I can do that. And I would take back the messages and the information that I would learn via faculty development for the team that I was teaching with at Prairie View A&M. And I then stumbled upon a position as a faculty development consultant with an educational technology company. And what that meant was I had a territory out west, 13 states out west, and I'm living in Texas at the time.
That's a lot of states for the West. That's the entire West, is it not?
It was. Alaska, Hawaii, all of that good stuff. But it grew. The territory ended up growing. But I had 13 states out west where I was responsible for providing faculty development, professional development to colleges and universities. Certain accounts at the ed tech company quote unquote, earned these workshops. And I was on this remote team. We were all spread out through the country, and they were so smart, Karen. I mean, oh my goodness, these are the smartest people alive. And so we were all out Thursdays and Fridays, going out doing professional development and faculty development. And our tagline kind of was something like this: we teach professors how to teach. That's what we did. Because when it comes to post-secondary faculty members, they get the credentials, but they don't necessarily get any kind of guidance with teaching methodology or anything like that. They are geniuses in their disciplines. And so what we did was showed best practices for engaging the 21st century learner, and classroom management techniques, and active learning and active lecturing.
Was that a blast for you?
It was a total blast.
Yeah.
You have no idea. We really need television right here so everyone can see my face.
The enthusiasm. Yeah. It's legit, people. It's legit. And of course, I'm excited because that's a similar path to me. And I love watching people who've already got the goods to help them bring it so more people can understand what it is that they have to share. And we're talking about in the tech industry, right? Ed tech?
It was educational technology. That's the new name for what publishing companies have sort of become.
Okay.
So with advances in digital, you have to make that change. So of course the company still offers textbooks, physical textbooks, but a lot of digital products.
Yeah, they've got to reach through that screen and grab you and hold your attention.
Completely.
And at the time, it was men and women, of course. And now as you've grown in your career and really staked your claim at what you're doing, you're primarily working with women?
Well, when I'm doing the coaching piece, when I'm performing coaching, I work primarily
one-on-one.
Yes, one-on-one. And there are group coaching opportunities if that is what someone prefers.
Nice.
But yes, after there was a lot of change at that educational technology company, and it led me down the road to starting my own public speaking firm.
Love it.
And so when it comes to coaching, yes, primarily women. But when it comes to me making a presentation for a corporation where they're doing professional development, they want something on team building, they want something on customer service. I am doing a
You
presentation.
are their girl.
I am the one.
Yeah.
I have a blast with it too.
I see that.
And it's not just women in the room, it's everyone in the room.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And still traveling a bunch, even though you call Arizona home. Are you still, your business is taking you all over the country?
I travel. It ebbs and flows. Mm-hmm. I do prefer to stay in the Arizona area as much as possible, of course, because travel just is no longer sexy.
Especially being a mom.
Especially. But yes, my work does take me outside of the state boundaries.
And I noticed too, when I was taking a look at all the things you have to offer, you have online programs that obviously you can be here locally and do all the things that you do, but you don't have to be in everybody's presence all the time because you have a variety of different products that you offer, some self-study, some kind of done for you guided programs. Can you speak a little bit about your academy?
That is what is so exciting right now, because I cannot be everywhere. I cannot be everything for everyone. And with the BMcTALKS Academy, BMcTALKS.com, you are able to enroll in Master Your Message, and you have a full suite of presentation skills courses that you take at your own pace when it works for you. You choose which topics you want to cover, and you have access to that content for the life of the program. And this includes any updates that I make, any additional information I provide in there. Master Your Message Academy is amazing.
And again, refreshing that you've offered this where you're going to include the updates. We have a lifetime opportunity to interact with it. There's, I'm sure, a suggested cadence for how quickly we interact, but we know that busy professionals sometimes have to ebb and flow through it. So this is a thank you for making this available and for having it just come from your heart as an offering, as opposed to putting some really tight constraints around it so it's just a deal or a sale.
And for the listeners, I have a special offer, 10% off. Use the code POWER, POWER. Go to BMcTALKS.com, click on the store, and then you can pick whatever tools in there. There's the Master Your Message program, but then I also have some toolkits in there that are really quick, easy mini lessons. 10% off of anything you buy.
Power.
Does
it have to be all caps, did you say? It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. It's not case sensitive.
And give us the spelling for BMcTALKS.
Sure. B as in Bridget, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie, Talks, TALKS.com. Click on the store. You'll see it up there in the navigation. Click on the store, and then you see all of my products there.
Awesome.
When you get ready to check out, put POWER down as your coupon code, and you get 10% off of anything that you purchase. And that's just for your listeners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So I want to go back to some questions around presentation skills.
Yes.
And really, especially since, I need to have them next week when I show up. And
please.
Like I said in the beginning, there's always room for improvement, isn't there? I would imagine even as many times as you've been out there speaking. And are you always still honing your craft as well individually?
Absolutely. I always find something where, I did not mean to phrase it like that, or, I could have gestured this way. I could have. Every single time. I've done hundreds of presentations, Karen, but it does not matter. I am constantly looking at a way to up level.
I'm happy to hear that. I think that's life in general, and certainly as an entrepreneur or a business owner. really a professional overall ought to be always looking at how can I continue to be a lifelong learner? And a big piece of that is communication, which is a great segue from one of the questions I have on my mind and heart to ask. What would you say, or do you ever hear the question, well, I communicate all the time at work. I do presentations. So why would I need someone like you to help me do that? Because I'm already pretty good at it. I mean, do you get that?
I don't get it, but I see it.
Oh, on their face? Like, you do what? I don't need that.
Right.
Okay.
I've been communicating all of my life. But this is the thing. All of us have been communicating all of our lives, but we don't necessarily know exactly what is working well. We have some vague idea of maybe everything's okay, but if you really want to know, if you're hitting the nail on the head, if you really want to know your message is resonating, that you are positioning yourself to move where it is you want to move, then you want to have someone who is going to sit down with you and identify exactly what is working and what needs to be improved, what you're doing incredibly well, and then how we can take that and turn it up 2, 12, 10, 1,000 notches. But you need someone who is a professional and who has made presentations, who's studied this industry, who's read the books, who has the education and can tell you exactly where you need to go.
I love it. And I'm also hearing that in what you do with, at least with your one-on-one coaching clients, you're giving them those milestones and really benchmarks to know if they're hitting those marks each time they go out and grow.
Yes. So when it comes to the coaching, I actually give you homework, and maybe it's that teacher thing in me, but you get homework. And the fantastic thing about my homework is a lot of times you can complete it right there in front of me. I'll give you homework and then you do it in front of me. And I'm telling you exactly, well, this was very strong, but this could be tweaked a little bit. This worked really well. I liked the eye contact. I liked the gestures, but right there was a little lilt in your voice, and that suggested a little bit of lack of confidence. So we'll want to work on that. You use this kind of phrasing, but let's try this because this sounds a little bit more powerful than that. I have a favorite blog post that focuses on say this, not that. Getting rid of wimpy words and using power words. Looking at cadence, looking at tone, looking at speed, looking at volume. All of that takes place in those sessions. So every single time you should see yourself getting incrementally better.
Wow. I love it. Can someone who is maybe shy or introverted become a great speaker? And I'm asking that, and I have an idea of what the answer is in my mind, but I'm curious as to what you would say about that.
Extroversion has nothing to do with being a fantastic speaker. If you're taking notes, write this one down. Extroversion, unless you're driving, extroversion has nothing to do with being a fantastic speaker. See, extroversion just means you get your energy from being around other people. That's all that means. It gives people the impression that you have this fabulous gift of gab, and maybe you do. But fantastic speaking, targeted speaking, speaking well, commanding an audience, commanding a room doesn't have a lot to do with extroversion. Actually, introverts, in my opinion, Karen, may be some of the better communicators and better speakers. And here's why. Because introverts get their energy from being alone, being by themselves with their ideas, organizing their thoughts, really being intentional about the message that comes out. Because they take that time, and I am not saying that extroverts do not take their time with their messages, but because introverts get their energy from being in a quiet space.
They're already designed that way.
Yes.
They do the work.
They do the work. So their messages tend to be a little bit more organized, a little bit more intentional. And they are very concerned and very precise about ensuring they're moving the audience the way the audience needs to be moved, and that they're paying attention to what it is the audience wants, and they're giving it to the audience.
Far more powerful answer than what I had in my heart. I knew the answer was going to be yes, but I didn't really have the reason why behind that. It makes complete sense. I think the older I get, I more enjoy my quiet and downtime. And because I've always been a natural leader and someone who's out there speaking a lot, to what you were just saying, I've had to really continue to look at how do I hone my craft, because part of it is a natural gift, but I don't want to ride on that alone because I'm making some assumptions about how I show up with a variety of people if I'm not constantly looking at and working on how to become a better communicator and a better speaker. Yeah. Tell us about how people might be able to overcome nervousness. I wish we had, obviously this is radio and it's a podcast, but if people could see the beauty in your eye and your expressions, it's so much fun. What causes people to be so nervous when making presentations, and what the heck can they do about it to overcome that?
Well, Karen, people who know me really well, they already have a really good idea.
They're seeing you. Yeah.
Yes, they know exactly the facial expressions that you're experiencing here. So there are a couple of things when it comes to nervousness. Probably 3 things that I want to focus on. The first thing is, it's a good thing to have some nervousness before you speak. Because when you get to the point where you're not nervous, you are going in there and you're probably winging it. And you are not really thinking to yourself, consciously preparing to give a great performance. I hate to say the words, but when you don't have a little bit of nervousness, you may be to the point where you don't care and you don't ever want to be there. So that's the first point that I want to make. Now, a couple of other points when it comes to nervousness. One thing is you have to remember you are human. And then the second part is you have to hear your message. So this is what I mean. As human beings, we are social beings. We want everyone to love or at least like our ideas on some level. So we're sweating. I'm sitting here sweating, okay? It may not look like it or sound like it, but we want to have our ideas embraced by others. And so the idea of going out on this stage or getting on a microphone, and we have all of these thoughts swirling around in our heads, and we are really hoping, fingers crossed, that the audience is going to enjoy what we say, is going to agree with what we say, is going to want to take the action that we want them to take. And the thought of them maybe not liking what we say, that is scary. That is scary. And then the anxiety comes where the body has the physical reaction.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I get it.
The sweaty palms, the butterflies in the stomach, all of that.
I got to say this real quick. In the morning before big speaking events, while I'm brushing my teeth, this is going to sound nutty. I have this gagging reflex. It's this nervous weird cough. And my husband, who's been with me now for 15 years, will usually say from the other part of the bedroom, "How you doing?" Because he knows, it's this nervous, anxious preparation.
Yes. And I need everyone to take solace in the fact that you are a professional, Karen. You're on the radio, okay?
But I still get nervous.
You still get nervous, as do I. And that nervousness it's because you care. It's because you care about doing a great job, not just for yourself, but doing a great job.
Being of service.
Being of service, doing a great job for your audience. So first, you're human. And then the second part is you have to hear the message. So hear me out on this one. A lot of times people like to practice their presentations in front of a mirror. There's a slight problem with that. And here's what it is. When we practice in front of a mirror, we are looking at our body language. We're paying attention mostly to the gestures and the facial expressions and so on, and not paying as much attention to the words. And so nervousness can show up because you have not heard the words that you plan to speak. You worry too much about how you will look. And a lot of times, let's be honest here, a lot of times in front of that mirror, you're not being genuine and you're not being yourself. You're sucking in your gut and turning a certain way and going out. So you're too focused on the wrong thing. Not that it doesn't matter what your audience sees, but what matters more is what your audience hears. So another way to get rid of the nervousness is to practice your presentation as if everybody is right there. Although there's nobody around, practice your presentation full on as if the audience is right there with you. I'm talking about all of the gestures, the pauses for questions, the head nod, all of that as if the audience is right there with you. I'm not kidding you. It makes such a huge difference in getting rid of the nerves. And see, when you get on the stage, you've heard these words before. Part of the nervousness is, I don't know what I'm going to sound like. I've not heard the words because I've just mentally gone through the presentation, or I've gotten in front of that mirror and I focused more on the image as opposed to the message.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I will definitely be taking that into next week. Feeling into that existence, feeling into that moment where I'm talking and speaking and how they're responding and interacting and what message I'm able to communicate, and worrying less about my presence and where I'm going to stand and when I'm going to wink and nod or crack a joke.
And we'll talk more about jokes in a second, but I want to add on to what you were saying. When you focus so much on making sure that the audience is getting value out of what you say, they don't care what you look like. Now, I'm not saying show up like a slob, but they don't care. The audience starts to feel you and follow you and dig you when you give the audience something of value. So yes, you want to make sure every hair is in place or just the right outfit is on. And I always encourage a power outfit, always. You want that, but don't let that be something that consumes you so much. Let that message consume you and say to yourself, I am about to go in here and make some transformations happen. I am about to go in here and give them some new ideas, give them some motivation, and let them know they can do this.
So let's talk about the best way to connect or engage with your audience or your participants. And then let's circle back around to humor.
Yes. And the best way to connect with your audience is much like what I was just talking about when it comes to giving them value. Give them value as quickly as possible. A lot of times people like to maybe start with a joke and things of that nature, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the best way to connect with the audience is to give the audience what it came to get. If your description of your session says A, B, and C, show up and give them A, B, and C. If you've made certain promises of what they will know or deliver what they'll know or what they will be able to do by the end of your presentation, then make that happen. And another part to connecting with your audience is asking fantastic questions, which you're the master of that, okay? Let's just be very clear.
In this setting, I am, right? That's the whole, shining the spotlight on my guests is the thing here. And when I'm speaking from stage, I'm not sure I know when to ask or what questions to ask when the spotlight is on me. So help me with that.
Ooh, well, okay. So in terms of getting your audience to engage with you, make sure you want them to engage with your ideas more than they engage with you. So don't stress so much about them liking you, but liking your ideas. Now, the kinds of questions to ask your audience, get ready for this one. I love this one. You want to move your audience affectively, behaviorally, and cognitively. The easy way to remember that is A, B, C.
Got it.
Affectively, behaviorally, and cognitively. This is what I mean. When you ask a question that gets at how an audience is feeling about something, how much do you like engaging in conversations? How well do you think you connect with people? Do you love connecting with others? And I'm using your presentation that you'll do as an example for these questions. How much, when was the last time you had a fantastic conversation? What made that conversation so great? I'm getting at feelings. I'm asking you a question that moves you affectively. You want to start there because that's easy. That's a low stakes type of question. Then after you present some content, 10, 12, 15 minutes, present some content, then ask a question that moves them behaviorally. It could be something like, based on what I just provided you, what will you do differently in your conversations? And of course, it can be a little bit more targeted based on the content that you provided. Based on these 3 techniques, which one will you use in your next conversation? Now you're getting them to think differently. You're moving them to do something, some change, some transformation. Then finally, you move them cognitively. And you don't want to start with this one because this one's tough. This is where you have them thinking about thinking. This is where you have them thinking about the content. What does this mean for X? And what is this? What kinds of transformations do you anticipate seeing as a result of taking everything from this workshop? This is where you have them thinking big picture. So move them affectively, behaviorally, then cognitively. Ask them questions that gets you to learn, how do they feel? What will they do differently? And what does this mean for the big picture?
Wow. Magic right there. That's gold. Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, humor. Take us back to humor. there's a place for it. Telling jokes or what, let's just speak to jokes and humor and anything you can provide for us. Little gold nuggets.
I have 4 R's for incorporating humor into your presentations. Yes, 4 R's.
Thank you for making this so manageable and easy. 4 R's, ABCs. I'm right there with you.
Yes, and then the you are human, you have to hear it. That gets rid of the nerves. So with the 4 R's, they are realistic, and I'll explain each one. Realistic, relevant, rehearsal, rationale. So first off, being realistic. Karen, you're not, well, not you, but you are not a comedian. You have to be realistic and recognize that telling jokes or successfully telling jokes may not be your forte, and that's okay. Professional comedians will tell you there is a ton of work that goes into crafting jokes that are going to get raucous laughter from the audience.
Another R.
There you go. They have teams of writers and editors, and they are drafting and redrafting and revising all kinds of stories and jokes. There's a lot of work in it. So don't feel like you have to be some kind of a jokester and just be realistic that just isn't your lane. Mm-hmm. Your lane is your content or your industry or your profession, and you're a master at that. Stay in that lane. But I'm still going to show you how you can incorporate humor, but I need you to be realistic with yourself. And if you do tell a joke that flops, do not try to explain it. That just makes it worse. Do not. If you tell a joke and it flops, keep going as if nothing happened. Just keep rolling with it and just say to yourself, okay, don't do that one again. Now, the next R is relevant. You have to remember, okay, another R, you have to remember your audience came for real information on a specific topic, on a specific subject. So you have to remain relevant, and you can tell a joke while remaining relevant by looking at things from your industry. Maybe there was a court proceeding or a court ruling that came down, or maybe there's an article in a journal or magazine specific to your industry that's absurd, and you can crack jokes on the absurdity of something or the outrageousness of something in your industry. Have you heard about X, Y, or Z? Or did you read such and such, such and such? Well, here's an excerpt, and infuse humor that way while remaining relevant and staying focused on the topic on which you're presenting. Now, the next R is rehearsal. If you do decide to bring humor into your presentation, then try that joke out on someone beforehand to see if it's really funny. And that could be a coworker. It could be a family member, whomever, but try it out beforehand. Actually rehearse that quip or whatever it is you're going to infuse before you get into the presentation. And then the final R is rationale. You need to ask yourself, why in the world are you even wanting to add jokes to your presentation? Is it to distract the audience? Is it to put yourself at ease? Is it in hopes that the audience will like you if you crack a joke? All of those are valid reasons. But let me tell you something. The audience will like you, and I believe I've already said something to this effect earlier. The audience will like you when you show the audience that you know your stuff. And you show the audience you know your stuff by bringing value. And when you bring value and when you show how you make their lives better with what you know and what you do, when you show them how you can take them to another level and move them to do something differently and get them excited about doing something differently, that is when the audience likes you, and you don't have to worry about distracting them, and you don't have to worry about them liking you. Get them to like your ideas. And then when you do that, Karen, when you have them in a position where they're getting information, they're getting content, they're getting real data and real material that they can take and do something with it outside of this presentation, then they're feeling you, and you can crack a joke on anything, no matter how lame it is, and they will crack up. And it's not even funny, but they like you, so they'll laugh at your jokes. But you have to get them to the point where they're feeling you. So finally, you have to ask yourself, what is my rationale for even adding a joke? Is it even necessary? And it's not. The audience didn't come for laughter. The audience came for real information.
This is fantastic. I really love the timing of this, given that I've got that thing going on next week, and that thing, and again, the value, the joy that you're modeling as you're explaining these things speaks volumes about who you are as a mentor, a coach, and a guide around these topics. So thank you. And again, I wish we had video here. I know there's plenty of videos out there about you and sharing this information, but I feel very special to be eyeball to eyeball with you, because truly you are a living, breathing example of what you teach and how you help guide. That's not always the case. And again, I'm not looking to bash anybody who is out there coaching and training other speakers as well. But I've got a good sense for folks, and clearly you do too. And authenticity makes such a difference. When we met in the lobby, there was this instant like, hey, let's connect, right? And we had a little chat banter before coming on. And now just sitting here in conversation with you about your business and how you serve and some of these wonderful tips and techniques that you can offer in less than an hour that, my goodness, anybody can walk away with and run with to get started. We know there's more. Is real. It's deep and much appreciated. So thank you.
Absolutely. Karen, I believe in walking the walk and talking the talk. I am not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't do. I am not going to tell you something or tell you to do something most times without giving you the rationale behind it. Now, I will save people the stress and the time of listening to me prattle on, and I will say, let me know if you want to know why. I will tell someone, I want you to wear X, or consider wearing this, or I want you to consider saying this. And if you want to know why, I will tell you. Just trust me professionally that this is going to work for you. However, I will never abandon you if you ask me, well, Bridgett, why is that? Sit down. Let's get a glass of water and I'll tell you exactly why. And that's the number one reason, Karen, adults will listen to you. And this is kind of going back to presentations too for a second. The number one reason adults will listen to you is they know why they should bother listening to you. They need to know, what is it I'm going to get out of this? I am turning over to you my most precious commodity, and that's time. I need to know how my time is going to be spent. At the start of a presentation, you must be very clear on that. Let everyone know exactly why they should bother. Why should I get off of my phone? Why should I not think about my grocery list? Why should I not think about anything else but only your message? You have to give them that why. And I believe that's why I feel so strongly about ensuring I give people a why, or at least the opportunity to ask me for the why.
Fantastic. Can we move over to talking about the mistakes? I think we've kind of hinted around to some of them, but are there some mistakes that stand out for folks that they're not even aware of when they're out presenting?
There are so many of them, Karen. And this is not to say people are just doing horrible jobs when they make presentations.
But it's room for improvement.
Yes. And unless this is your jam, so to speak, you don't recognize some things that can be problematic. One thing that is not necessarily problematic, but could use some attention, is the number of times a person says, like, so, those filler words. I am not saying eliminate those from your vocabulary. Not at all. Because using a certain amount of those makes you sound human. It makes you sound natural. If you never uttered an or you start to sound robotic to a certain extent, or not human. So I'm not saying get rid of those, but pay attention to how many times you use those, because it can take away from your message. It can make it hard for people to listen to you and really hear your message and cut through the noise. And all of those uhs and ums can be a lot of noise. So don't get rid of them completely, but do pay attention to how much you use those. So that's one, I won't say mistake, but an area that could be improved upon. Mm-hmm. Another one is I've seen people get up and get ready to make a presentation after they've been introduced by someone, and they will start off with good morning or hello, and they're expecting a response in return. And oftentimes it's a weak hello, and then the speaker will say, I said good morning. And they're really trying to get the audience hyped, and no, don't do that. Here's the reason. Of course, I'm always going to give you the reason. Here's why you shouldn't do that. It immediately suggests to the audience that it's subpar, that it hasn't done the right thing, that you should be more cheerful. You should be happier to see me. So it's already suggesting that there's a problem with the audience. Something's wrong with all of you out there because you should be as excited as I am. Well, that leads me to my second point. You haven't done anything to get anyone excited.
Right.
How about that one? I mean, unless you have rock star status or you're some big celebrity, that's another story.
And that's who I was picturing as you're describing that. I've seen people do that, but they are the folks that we're all following and we're all watching, and they already come with that clout and that clarity, and they can command that because we came for them.
Yes. If you have that gravitas, if you have that resume behind you, absolutely. If you are Oprah or Beyonce or Michelle Obama, then yes, you should get a rousing good morning and so on. But if you're, Bridgett McGowen.
I was going to say, Karen Nowicki. Start off with something else. Love it.
So it's okay. Whatever the audience gives you in the form of a greeting, just accept it, but say to yourself, you're not excited now. You're not hot and on fire now, but wait until I get through with this presentation. That's what I want you to tell yourself. I want you to use that as a motivator. Where you say to yourself, okay, here's my baseline. But by the time I finish, at the end of these 50 minutes, at the end of these 90 minutes, my goal is to have them so aroused, so excited, so on fire with the information I give them, the possibilities that are stirring in their minds until they can't help but to get out of their seats. So you just set that as a goal and just compete with yourself to get a better greeting the next time. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You haven't done anything to get them excited. Another mistake I see presenters make is with the clicker, Karen. If you make presentations, it's always nice to have a nice little clicker because then you can remotely transition your slides as opposed to having to go back and forth to your computer and press the advance button or the arrow button to advance your slides. I will see people take the clicker and they'll point it toward the screen like you're pointing it at a
TV or something, a remote.
Yes. Or if it's not working properly, they'll point it at the laptop or the computer. Stop that.
Yeah.
One, there's nothing on the screen that controls the remote control or controls the clicker. And while there is a connectivity between the laptop and the clicker, if you're having to do all of that, you need to get another clicker or change the batteries. But you want to be as smooth, as polished as possible. And that is not a polished move. So part of being polished is you want to show up as early as possible and make sure your clicker is working properly so you don't find yourself having to do that. I have seen some clickers where there's a little bit of a delay from when you press the button and the slide advancing. So if you show up early enough to your presentation, you will know that and be prepared for that. But that is probably one of my biggest pet peeves is seeing people do that. It just doesn't make you look put together.
Wow. Okay, I've got a question that relates to my own experience, and I'm noticing it more in videos. So feel free to say, I don't know anything around that. I notice when I'm doing videos, whether the live streams or prepared for obviously putting the word out about Mac 6, Conscious Capitalism and Phoenix Business Radio X, I have a tendency to end my sentences on a high note. Okay, you've got to see Bridgett. She's doing this like uptick with her finger. I think that I'm doing it and I go back and I'm like, okay, we got to redo that again. I noticed I did it. I can liken it to, and maybe I'm wrong, my need and desire to, again, like you said at the front of our conversation, to want you to like me, to want you to be engrossed as much as I am and invested in the conversation as much as I am. And I believe it's doing me a disservice. Am I thinking right? Do you know why generally we tend to do that? Is that a thing?
You hit the nail on the head. What you're talking about, Karen, is called uptalk. It's also called high rising terminal. Now, you're not necessarily doing yourself I'm trying to be nice. Yes, you're doing yourself a disservice. No.
I know it. I go back and I watch. In fact, we have a video coming out probably today as it relates to Phoenix Startup Week. And I guarantee you there are moments where I'm doing this uptalk and I did 3 takes. So hopefully they'll make one that doesn't have as much. But so what is the psychology or what's happening with us when we do that?
Sure. And I want to backtrack a little bit and say you particularly are not necessarily doing yourself a disservice to an extent because you do have the resume, the background, the knowledge where it is very clear you're a consummate professional and you know your stuff. So that's one thing that you have going for you. So you could sit here and just say a bunch of gobbledygook and it would be okay.
Well, gosh, thank you. I don't know that I agree, but I will nod my head and say, yes, you're right, Bridgett.
What's happening with uptalk is, and it's funny enough, you pegged it just right. Part of it is you are wanting to gain audience buy-in. So that uptalk is saying, do you feel me? Are you following what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? That's what that uptalk is subconsciously doing, or what you're doing with it is you are hoping that the audience is tracking with your ideas. And it's totally subconscious. And I'm very proud of you. Not that you need me to be proud of you, but proud of you for even recognizing that, because oftentimes people do not pick up on the fact that they are engaging in uptalk. So I applaud you for that. And part of the psychology behind it is you are really hoping that your ideas are garnering the excitement, the interest that you want them to garner. One way to work on uptalk is to recognize that you're doing it, and then to consciously end your sentences on an even tone. And what makes it a problem? I probably should back up and talk about this. Why are we even talking about uptalk? What makes it a problem is it does make you sound uncertain of yourself.
Yes.
It does have a suggestion or a connotation that you're not absolutely sure of your ideas. When you are very sure of your ideas, what it is I'm not sure that the audience is sure of my ideas. But what it sounds like is you are not sure of your ideas. It has a little bit of roots in that Valley Girl talk. We used to try to connect it to that. That's not really what's going on.
But that's part of the annoyance for me. Now I'm showing my age, but that is part of, and again, I'm only speaking about when I go back and I watch myself on camera, or I hear myself on an audio. And when I do that, I can go to that moment and go, oh gosh, I was not lacking in clarity, but lacking in confidence in what I was sharing. And to go back to a point you shared earlier, if I were rehearsing, not in front of the mirror, but really putting myself in that moment with people and knowing and trusting and remembering who I am as an authority to bring this message and practice that cadence, that would make a big difference for me.
Let me tell you something, Karen. I need you and everybody else to always say this to yourself. There is no one on this planet who does what I do the way I do it. There is no one on this planet who knows what I know to the depth, to the extent at which I know it. I need you to feel that way all the time. Even if you don't have a clue, make it sound like you have a clue. And consciously work on ending sentences with that even tone. And just like is the case with the verbal segregators or the fillers, they're also called verbal segregators.
The uhs and the ums.
The uhs and the ums, the filler words. You don't have to completely get rid of uptalk. That's a tall feat. That's quite the work.
It is part of my personality too. I get that.
That's why.
And yet I know when I use it as, out of lack of confidence. So that's big. This is wonderful. Thank you for the on the spot coaching.
Well, right. And what you just said about it being part of your personality. I don't want you to all of a sudden start putting all of these things in place, getting rid of the uhs and the ums, right? Getting rid of the jokes and getting rid of the up talk. And then all of a sudden you've gotten rid of yourself. So keep your personality, but be aware of that up talk, because when an audience hears it too often, too much, and almost every single sentence or every other sentence, 80% of your sentences have that up talk to it, it is hard on the ears.
The word coming to me is it discredits everything that I've said that I really am an authority on. Yeah.
It can.
Subtly, I would imagine. Yeah. Wonderful. 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 Thank you. Wow. Gosh, I'm like, what else do I need to focus on? And again, this is our first occasion to meet. So I'm like, okay, I've only got 10 minutes left. No, joking, of course. Tell us, when folks are listening today and they're interested, the best place to start is engaging with your website and taking advantage of that special you offered us. Can you tell us about that again? I think the word was power.
Yes. So the best way to engage with me is first visit the website, poke around, see if this makes sense for you. See if you want to pick up what I'm putting down. The website is BMcTALKS.com. B as in Bridget, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie, talks, TALKS.com. And when you click on the store, you'll see all of the products that I have. If you want to purchase any of those, then use the coupon code POWER to get your 10% off as a Business Radio X bonus, if you will, for listening today. But poke around the site. Don't just go to the store. Check out the blog. I love my blog. Well, of course I would love my blog, but check out the blog.
You better love your blog.
I know, right? Who's going to love it if I don't love it? Check out the blog, check out the information on the homepage where I clearly discuss exactly what you get out of the Master Your Message program. And if it's something that you're interested in, schedule a complimentary 30-minute call with me to talk about what are your presentation skills goals. Maybe the Master Your Message fully online program isn't for you. Maybe the one-on-one coaching is for you. Then schedule a call with me, and you would do that by visiting BMcTALKS.com/call, BMcTALKS.com/call, CALL, and pick a slot, 30 minutes, no obligation, no pressure, no strings attached, nothing. I want to find out what kind of speaking you do. What are your goals? What are your professional goals? What do you think is working? What do you want to change? I want to hear all of that. And then we decide what would be the best option for you.
Social media, you're out there on some of the social media platforms. Is there a favorite for you to encourage us to follow you there?
My favorite is LinkedIn. That's how we're connected, actually, is on LinkedIn. So my profile on LinkedIn is BMcGowen. So LinkedIn.com/NIN, then /BMcGowen, B as in Bridget, McGowen.
Wonderful. And are you on there enough that we really kind of get a cadence for this opportunity to learn and grow with you? Yes. I publish articles quite frequently on there and updates on there. So yes. Wonderful. Such a treat to meet you today and to get to know you and really get a lot of value out of our conversation today. Again, as a seasoned speaker and an educator, fellow educator, it's always wonderful for me to walk away in just a very brief conversation with some takeaways right away. And you had a plethora of them. So thank you very much for your time and for your energy. And I look forward to getting to know you even better.
Thank you for the opportunity, Karen. And thank you to all of the listeners. I trust this was time well spent.
No doubt. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio with Business Radio X, broadcasting live from within the Max 6 and Conscious Capitalism Arizona studios. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki.